Hey gamers, it's Ed Park, aka Taugrim. I picked up World of Tanks last week and have been playing it. It's a really cool game. In this video I'm playing my M8A1 Tier 4 American Tank Destroyer, and this is the tank destroyers in this game generally pack a lot of punch. You can think of them as glass cannons. My M8A1 is a very mobile tank destroyer with a relatively low silhouette profile. It does have very weak armor, so I have to be very careful with positioning myself relative to my enemies. Now, tank destroyers tend to operate well from cover, using natural camouflage. Like right here, this bush doesn't quite do it, and I'll just show you. When you rotate around, you can see only part of the vehicle is grayed out. When the vehicle is grayed out, it's much more difficult to spot. And in addition, I have the camouflage net, so when the hull of my vehicle, i.e. the main body of the vehicle itself, is stationary for 3 seconds, I get a 25% boost to my camouflage. So you can see our right flank is getting hit, so find some nice natural cover here that affords a pretty good view of the opposing hill and down to the valley. Go ahead and move. You have to be facing down a little bit. If you're on a rise, your guns are facing up. You not only expose the underside of your tank, which is dangerous, but you sometimes can't aim your tank at your opponent. So I'm not going to go over and help out all the way in the far right hand side of the flank, but I'm just waiting as targets appear since we're getting shot on. Now, tanks will appear from range when they've been spotted by your friendly tank. This opponent right here is positioning his tank really well. You can see he's almost completely covered by that rock. It's a natural obstruction, and even when I did make contact there, it didn't do any damage because this angle is so tough. Now, viewing and spotting mechanics are really important. This game has a lot of realistic mechanics. You can see another tank was spotted down the valley, so I immediately switch over to it. He's out in the open here, and he starts to back up a little bit, so I go ahead and lead him with my gun, and actually he stops, and I'm able to drop him. Now, as far as the M8A1, you have two gun choices. One is a 76mm howitzer, which fires about once every 4 seconds, and it does really good damage and has nice armor penetration. I actually prefer the 57mm gun, which does a little bit less damage but has pretty close armor penetration rating, but it has a much higher rate of fire. Now, the opponent that was on the opposing cliff, he was showing himself, and if we had friendly line of sight on him, I would have been able to finish him off without a problem, but you'll notice he disappeared from view, and it's because there's no one to spot. If you look on the map, you can see the bottom right-hand quadrant of the map, there are absolutely no green dots remaining, so I am the last tank on the right flank, so I know I can't leave this spot. This game, more so than any other game that I've played, really communicates the importance of flanking and positioning on your opponents, and I know that if tanks roll up and hit our right flank right now, we might get severely wiped. So if you look at the score, we're behind right now. It turns out the opponents did have 2 AFK players, but even so, they're still up on us, 2 kills, and I'm just using my scope here to see if I can spot any kind of enemy activity or movement, and reposition myself here in the camouflage. One thing is when you fire and camouflage, all the camouflage in front of you, the natural cover, gets removed. Now you'll notice this is what I was expecting. Tanks coming up and hitting a right flank. I aim for the back right part of the vehicle. You can see the track popped off, so he is effectively immobilized. And I lay down 3 shots for about 250 damage, and artillery finishes them off. Now, but what I like about this gun is, it penetrates really well and it is highly accurate. You can see a couple of tanks are making their way up the hill toward us in the middle, so it's my opportunity to flank them. So whenever possible with a tank destroyer that has weak armor like this one, I try to find some natural camouflage, and since my hull's not moving, you can notice I'll get the bonuses in a second. Now you see the turret's turning toward me. I squeeze off a second shot, so I've hit him twice for about 150 damage, and then right as I move back, you see that tracer zing overhead. Now, I've lost sight on him because there's nobody who can spot him. So I just respotted him, trying to get my gun on him really quickly, and waiting for that green reticle, the aiming reticle, to close in so that there's a higher probability that I'm going to hit where I'm intending to. Alright, so we take out that medium tank. Unfortunately, friendly tank destroyer gets destroyed. And then I noticed, looking at the map, there's a light tank that made it all the way up to the top of the hill, and he's now approaching our last ARTI, our last artillery or SPG, self-propelled grenade. Self-propelled gun. There are 5 different tank types in this game: light tanks, medium tanks, heavy tanks, tank destroyers, which I'm playing, and then self-propelled gun. So this SPG is in great danger because this light tank is making his way to them. And you'll see the light tank is going to predictably try to go around and flank him where he can shoot him from behind. Now, what sucks right there is my first shot misses there. I get a second clean shot, and then my third shot drops the light tank, but he did destroy our arty. That artillery is gone. What's kind of frustrating to me, there's actually another medium tank up here with me. He's just crying out for SOS, but he's not actually doing anything. In this game, you know, when you die, you're eliminated from the match. Each side starts off with 15 vehicles, and it's really important for teammates to support each other. And, you know, I'm staying at home, and, you know, originally I was covering the right flank because that seemed like we might get into trouble, and, you know, all of our tanks on the right flank got wiped out. So, you know, so I've been staying at home making sure that our artillery was protected. Unfortunately, he's gone. I tried to scramble back to make it to him, but didn't get there in time. So there are hundreds of vehicles in this game. I'm probably going to settle down somewhere between Tier 4 and Tier 6. I really like Tier 4 because this is when you start to see some of the differentiation and roles between tanks. You can see this guy here. I have to be very patient, let the reticle stop moving. I hit him once there, so now his health is so low, he's essentially one-shot material. So this M8A1 has really good speed. You can see I'm already cranking up here. 30 and then about, you know, hit over 40 kilometers an hour, so it's really good for covering ground. In this particular video, I don't take any damage, and, you know, partly it's probably because I'm, you know, staying on the high ground, staying behind cover, but with some of the tank destroyers like this one, you know, I can be one shot by some of the Tier 5 tanks, so I have to be really careful. And even like a lighter medium tank can shred me because my armor's so low. But of course, you know, this is part of the balance in the game. You know, I don't want to shoot my friendly here, and that friendly heavy tank finishes off the light tank. But, you know, it's part of the balance. You know, tank destroyers have really powerful guns. In my case, I have a gun that doesn't do a ton of damage, but has a good rate of fire, good accuracy, good armor penetration. But that's what I prefer. I prefer to lay down a consistent stream of damage of my opponents. I'm not as concerned about doing the, you know, the big boom kill shots. So, you know, we managed to kind of defend the interior of our base, and like I said, the other side, it turns out for them, unfortunately, that they started off shorthanded. They were beating us for a while here until we kind of scrambled. They really wiped out. You can see all these green tanks that got busted up on the right flank. I mean, they really were taking it to us. And these tanks, you can see where they got killed, they were out in the open. Like, if you're going to make a run down this hill, you have to go and stop at really good cover, or go all the way down into the valley where you can hide in the buildings. So, you know, you don't want to stop in no man's land. So I've been also leveling up another tank, Tier 4 Matilda. That's the British medium tank, which plays completely differently from this one. Now, with the exception of that gun, the gun that I use on the tank also has a high rate of fire and is pretty accurate with penetration. So this guy, Raladros, did a great job spotting in the other opposing base, and then, you know, getting the cap there and finish off with like about 550 points. You can see the gun's really accurate. You know, I said 14 hits out of 20 and 11 penetrations for over 700 damage. So, you know, I opt to not use the derp gun, but it's still really effective. So let me know what you think about this video. I'm going to be making some other World of Tanks videos. Really impressed with the game. Great degree of realism and team play. So let me know what you think about the video and your questions and feedback. Take care.